One of them. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, Trevor, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We got to turn our volume up a little bit. So we have quorum and we are ready to begin.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sorry I can't be there in person this morning, but it's good to have everyone here and looking forward to some good discussion this morning and hearing all the good things that the board has been up to. Want to recognize some special guests and some new board members this morning. Our new board members are Katie Hoffman. Did I say that right? Hopefully.
Katie Hoagland.
Yeah, okay, thank you. She's the Executive Director, Career Development Office, and Shannon Manrique.
And read that.
You gave me some very difficult names this morning. I apologize. Business Manager and Shaka Window Cleaners. She's a business manager of Shaka Window Cleaners in Allen County. I'll get through this in just a second. Is there anyone else we can recognize this morning, John?
I think we've got our usual suspects. We do have Dr. Kim Myers from SkyCTC joining us. Welcome, welcome,
Good
Dr.
morning, Dr.
Myers.
Myers.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Okay. As a housekeeping note, just to remind everyone, all of our board members that have zoomed in, to keep your cameras on during the meeting. This allows us to help us confirm when everyone's voting on one of our items. So I'll just go ahead and turn it back over to John.
All right, thank you. Well, good morning and welcome, friends. It's good to be with you again, and we always look forward to giving these presentations to you. I'd like to also welcome Katie and Shannon. You are officially board members now. We've went through the process with our judge executives to get you voted on, so we welcome you to the team. We're very fortunate to have your expertise and experience join us. On a related note, we also had the following board members renominated for second term and approved. And those folks were Ron Wilson, Chad Spencer, Tori Murley, Roxana Miracle, and John Eaton. So we really appreciate all five of you for your willingness to continue to serve on our board of directors. So about today's board meeting, we're going to make a slight change to reflect the approval of our recent and new local strategic and regional plan. As most of you are aware, we center our board meetings around our strategic goals. And with the approval and passage of our new local strategic plan, we've gone from 4 strategic goals to 5. So we're going to take a few minutes this morning, specifically in agenda item number 5. And Brian's going to kind of give everybody a refresher on the 5 strategic goals and some of the slight changes. But that will somewhat change our methodology on how we present these meetings from here on out. But we'll go over some of that, and we'll once we get through that, we'll get through a couple of other business items up front, and then we'll move to the strategic goals portion of the presentation, where what we affectionately call the show and tell portion, and talk about how we are pursuing each one of these strategic goals. So with that, I will turn it back over to Madam Board Chair.
Okay. All right. Our first order of business this morning is to approve the June 12th, 2025 board meeting minutes. And especially since I'm virtual this morning, if you do vote or second, can you please state your name? That'll help us make sure we get that recorded correctly. Our board members should have received and reviewed those minutes already. Are there any questions regarding the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Teresa, motion.
Is that Teresa? Okay. Thank you, Teresa. Is there a second?
All directions, first one, sorry.
How many laps?
I recognize your voice though, Teresa. Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Justin Browning, and I will second Teresa's motion.
Hey, Justin, thank you for the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. You're all the best. Okay. All right, moving on to the executive committee updates from July 10th. The executive committee met and we've discussed 3 agenda items: performance bonus request, and preview of the next 6 months, and some concerns. John went over some concerns with us. So regarding the performance bonus, John asked the executive committee to consider awarding Brian Becker and Leslie Whitty a monetary award for drafting and designing the Cumberland's Workforce Development Board's local strategic plan. Their work was performed through a professional services contract between EmployerWord LLC and the Cumberland's Workforce Development Board. And the executive committee did approve a motion to award the performance bonus contingent on approval by the Employer Board of Directors. And then John also previewed several major things the board would lead over the next 6 months. Highlights of those included a preview of the Ready, Set, Hire campaign, and that's an internal effort to recalibrate business services, highlight Work Ready boot camps, review of external audit timeline, and provide an update of the NDWG Severe Storms Grant application and exploration of the SNAP Employment and Training Program as a funding mechanism for that. And last, John wanted to bring several environmental concerns to our attention, all of which will be covered today. We discussed the uncertainty and some of the mixed messaging around the future of WIOA, looked at labor market data that reflects slowing job market, and discussed employment challenges facing our new American community. So that's all for my report. I'll turn it back over to John.
Brian.
Or Brian.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So this was a labor of love to work on the strategic plan, and it was great to work with everybody, including you all, as some of the most important stakeholders that we had for feedback on the development and just some edits, some ideas. But we did get that thing approved after getting some feedback from the state, which was very minor. That I recall. It wasn't anything too much. It's a little bit more detail in one section, I think. So that did get approved on July 1st, and it was also meant to take effect on July 1st. So we're good for 4 years, or at least until they change WIO on us and everything that we might touch and do as a workforce board. But we just, like John mentioned, wanted to go over really quickly how you're used to thinking of the goals and how we're used to presenting them to you, and then kind of the changes. So employer services and solutions, this is very much similar to what we've done before. Not much has changed here as far as what we're going to report data-wise to you guys here in just a moment. As far as, just what we're doing for services to employers, mostly trying to count the times that we're engaging with them through those various means there in the top box, and then the times that we're the counts of referrals from job seekers that we're tracking, of course, the number of hiring events, and then these presentations that we're always open to giving, wink, wink, whether it's in a big group or one-on-one. And then there's some just other performance indicators, some services that might be necessary when a business closes. You guys hear us give periodic updates on those, and thank God we don't have anything like that to share today, or that's happened so far this summer that we're aware of. Those internships through SkillBridge, the Department of Labor, for transitioning military veterans that we are overseeing through Your Turn. We're calling it Your Turn, and that's a measure that we report, as well as employer satisfaction surveys when we can get those back from employers. So again, very much similar what you're used to seeing. Here's one that is new, the workforce system alignment. So we've often had a challenge in that, something that maybe doesn't have measurable results, but is a lot of effort to pull off, or maybe something that we could be involved in meetings and nothing ever comes to fruition. But we wanted to talk to you all about that under this goal. And so a lot of it's project based. So some of the sub goals that we'll start sharing are any efforts that are going on that might be expanding industry recognized training. So we're never locked in, right, to what there is at the moment. There's always new things that could be on the horizon, and especially here in the region. So our heavy equipment operator program that we've bragged on for many years was a great example of that. When CDL first launched through SkyCTC, and we've supported a lot of people, and you'll see in a minute how many people we're presently supporting through that training offering. So any of those things that come online, but even if there's whispers of something happening, we want to be able to report that. Just taking care of our own customers as far as job seekers that come in, like to the Career Center or through any of our staff. There's always room for improvement there, and ways to streamline or have them engage with us. Definitely it was a requirement, but our state cabinet, the Education and Labor Cabinet, has always got projects going on and statewide initiatives. So they did ask us to adopt those. And of course, there's going to be ways that we are absolutely supporting those initiatives that we want to report on. Any industry partnerships that are going on, so where there might just be something happening within a sector, we want to give you guys a report on that. And then just that always keeping a strong relationship, always wanting to be thought of as the best workforce board in the state of Kentucky, but cultivating relationships with anybody that's local, regional, or at the state level. So this will be the opportunity for us to shine a light on those. And then just moving through these other ones, some of these are a little bit renamed, but educating and preparing job seekers, that's going to mostly focus on our youth. We are going to also include our WIOA outcomes into that, and we'll give you that update. And then removing barriers to increase workforce participation is mostly going to center on our navigator efforts or outreach and programming that we have focused on new Americans, military veterans, and then our justice involved populations. And then the organizational performance and accountability will remain mostly our fiscal and programmatic compliance. And we will also be able to, as we have earlier this year, report on like quality control coordinator activities, which we have a regional quality control coordinator as of July 1 with Jessica Calvert. And so she's actually helping with the Cumberlands and overseeing their quality control activities too. So we'll be able to give some credit to ourselves. And that's a lot of effort there with just quality control. But any new grants, any changes in funding, all of the audits that we deal with, that's the space to report on those. So again, just to give you guys that summary, we wanted to brief you on that first before we started jumping right into them. And now I can pause for a second if there's any questions, but that's, again, pretty much the big five that we've adopted now. So hopefully you guys remember, because we did that back in the spring. It feels like a long time ago now, but otherwise, okay, I'll turn it over to Miss Michelle. And Michelle, I do have the two pages now.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. All right, this presentation is for the period ending June 30th. That is the end of the fiscal year. We finished the fiscal year with $3,093,000 of actual revenue against a budget of against the actuals of 3,071, resulting in a $21,000 variance, which is very good considering this is a less than 1% variance. So that was some really good budgeting and planning around those numbers. And if we move down to the expenditures, same thing. We always balance to zero at the end of every month. And if you want to flip to the second page, we have our statement of financial position, and our accounts receivable balance was $412, and our vendor payables $412 as well. And that's basically it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Anyone have any questions for Michelle this morning? There aren't any. A motion to approve the financial report?
That makes a motion to approve. Chad Spencer.
Thank you, Chad Spencer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a second?
I'll second Kendra Sewell.
Thank you, Kendra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm taking this one too with our strategic goals. So we're into the show and tell portion. Not a lot of business this morning. So yeah, we put some statements as well with each of these strategic goals. So obviously, like I said, number one is remained unchanged. It's our services to employers, and We're primarily delivering a lot of those through our business services team. And real quickly, that pretty much represents most of us on staff. It represents Jake and Bianca as our business services rep with career team. And then Tony Gramando, our lever, is what it's called. So acronym
Local
soup.
employer veteran rep.
Yeah,
Local veteran employer rep.
local veteran employer rep, or lever for short. So yeah, so we've got, gosh, I mean, we meet every Monday. There's usually about a dozen of us. We've also have representatives like Paula with vocational rehabilitation, and one of her colleagues that have also been able to join, as well as some community partners. But showing our goals in red there with what we set out at the beginning of the year to do and where we stand today on just engagements with employers. You can see the counts there, the referrals. So we're pretty much online in some areas and behind in others. With our hiring events, we're having not as many multi-county events. We're doing those more regional. And we'll report on one of those that we'll have in Barron County at the next board meeting. Give you guys some data and outcomes from that. But we are doing them at the Career Center mostly every Tuesday. And that's been branded as the employer showcases. And so we're pushing that out to a lot of job seekers. It was there because conveniently a lot of people that come in for UI have to come in on that day of the week anyway for a program called the RECE program, but we've just opened that up to the public for anybody else to come. And so we do have employers, some that are regular taking advantage of that and some that have just started to. I think Shannon.
Yeah, I've been doing it here and there over the last year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean,
when I have a Tuesday available.
Yeah. So we'll have anywhere from what, Frank, 2 to 3 dozen, sometimes more, that will come just for that. Yeah. And visit the employers that are there. So making some meaningful connections there. And then the employers engaged through those presentations. We've had quite a few here, or just 2 in the last week. I was able to present at a Kentucky Chamber of Commerce Academy last week. And Jake and Bianca presented to the Sky SHRM, which we just joined that as members. And that meeting was yesterday morning. So the monthly meeting was held there and they presented about workforce services. So yeah, and also you can see some of the other things, but we're holding nearly 100% employer satisfied with services that they're getting, and especially the level of service. So any questions on the metrics before I turn it over to Jake for an update? All right. I'm sorry. I have to do an analysis first. I'm out of order, Jake. My bad. We wanted to just keep giving you guys this labor market analysis information. So we've been reporting in the last 2 board meetings, which were April and June, just again, the uncertain environment that we seem to be facing with, job growth, or at least opportunities. A lot of hiring has really slowed down. We've had less employers turning out for our hiring events. We have been hearing about companies not necessarily closing, but laying off. And that's affected our job seekers that are seeking services. And we have been reporting to you guys that decrease in open jobs over time. And that's what I wanted to really show you guys. So I've been able to kind of really, with the help of ChatGPT, make it analyze what you see on the screen. So there's always going to be jobs that for one reason or another are outside of our 10-county region. A lot of them are traveling nurse jobs, but we do pick up like just one county over jobs. So as best as the report tries to scrape and stay within the 10 counties, inevitably it'll pick up Cromwell and outlying areas like Litchfield and things like that. But this really shows you where we started the year, right? When we say there was like 7,000 open jobs, what we're really saying is that there were that many links that could be found through a program called Jobs EQ. And that's pretty much unduplicated. But again, for context, one company might have 10 positions open and put 1 job post out there. And so it's really the best measure we have to get a sense of how many jobs, if you scrape the internet, might be out there. And again, if you're not using the internet, this isn't picking it up. So if you just put a now hiring sign on your storefront, that's not going to be pulled in this report. But what you can definitely see in the pink there is the volume of jobs that were really old. And then there was some kind of a funky cleanup thing that happened in March, which that was making it an anomaly, but you can see how that's really leveled off now. And we're not seeing such a massive amount of older posts, but you can see in blue, those are the relatively newer ones. And then green would be fresh in the past week. So these reports are given to us once a week. by Bill Sandell. And this is just looking at one report at the beginning of each week. So over a span of
The
time.
first week of each month.
Yeah, so I just picked the first week of each month just for, for clarity there. So that what we're looking at with August was from the report at the beginning of last week.
So Teresa, you and I have had a couple conversations about this. I mean, I've had conversations in the last week and a half with a couple folks at the Bowling Green Chamber, plus just about every employer I talk to. I mean, everybody's kind of acknowledging it. The employers will say, yeah, we're good where we are right now for the most part. But even some folks in the chamber are like, yeah, we're seeing this too. We have sensed it, but then we kind of went on this journey. Brian kind of sunk his teeth into this and figured out how to take the report we're given and really analyze it.
Yeah,
Basically
ChatGPT.
wrote code so that it would open every link to figure out if it was an actual job posting or not, or if it was expired or not, or.
Yeah, there was that one. And then for this one, it was, so every report has 22 tabs. It's an Excel document. And so that's 8 times 22 of the amount of sheets. And it will run the code and in 5 seconds, give me this information. So I don't have to sit there and hand count it. And then I just have to kind of compile into a pretty bar chart. But we wanted to open this up for discussion or feedback, reaction, whatever. This is not just us talking. We want to let you guys know, again, when we say the environmental factors going on, that this is one of the things. So not every job is created equal, right? Some of these are full-time, some are part-time. But when we talk about validity of how many might be fresh, we're probably talking about half.
I'll just add, the way we're looked at from a performance standpoint is particularly with WIOA, as we get looked at employment outcomes and our ability to connect folks. And so our performance is still pretty good, but it has gotten tougher. And then we're going to talk about this a little bit more. It's been particularly tough environment to get new Americans placed. It's a particularly tough environment to get folks with a reentry background placed. Because right now it's the employers, and this is not assigning blame, but employers can be very picky about who they choose. It's not the environment we were in a year ago when employers are going, I can't find anybody. Now they can find exactly who they want. And the folks that we tend to work with, barriers, it's just a tougher task for us to get them employment. And I'm just saying it out loud and publicly. So it's where we are right now. And if these tariffs and all these trade deals and all this stuff that's projected to happen, then this might, 6 months from now, we might be back to where we were, and everybody's now suddenly interested again in our constituents, those with barriers. So we'll see.
And another thing, we cannot police whether a company keeps a job active or not. So if a company just forgot to take a post down off their internet website, it's going to keep showing up in the report. So, I mean, if they keep paying for it to be shown on Indeed, if Red Lobster keeps needing a kitchen cook, that's the reality, and it might be there for 2 years, but it's going to keep pulling every week on this report.
Is there any new wage data?
Yeah, this system, JobsEQ, can pull the wage data as well. Okay. Would you like us to dig in and maybe look at that to present to the next meeting?
I don't know what I'll do with it, but it's just one of those, I like data. So
Yeah.
it's,
I would love to see.
I would
that.
love to check.
I want to crosswalk,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah. And keep in mind, there's 22 tabs, meaning 22 sectors, so there's going to be, great variation there, but maybe that will be a starting point, is just kind of what are the wages for each of the 22. If it's posted, right? So the system will only give us an average if it's listed that it can calculate. So if it's not listed on the job post, then we won't know.
There's lots and lots of wage data we can pull. I mean, you can pull entry level data, median level data. You can do it by sector.
And I'm thinking of
So
green, blue, what's the wage data in the green and blue?
Okay.
Would be,
you may find this shocking, but the highest percentage of these jobs on here are going to be entry level jobs.
oh, I don't think.
And there'll be a fair amount of mid-level jobs. And really high-end jobs usually don't. They usually, if you're looking for C-suite level folks, they're probably not going to show up in this report. Those folks are being headhunted through specialty staffing organizations.
Brian, is January 25 as far back as this data goes?
No, I just wanted to show a year-to-date tally. Yeah. You can go
I
back
was
further.
curious if the same thing happened in March of 24.
Yeah, so what we showed, I think in the last 2 months, if you look back at 6 months and both years, it kind of had gone, like we compared it to the same time last year
Yeah.
is what had happened. And it had gone down then too, but it went down further this year than last year. But yeah, there's generally a decline, but we usually start feeling it before the holidays. If we've just known it's kind of taboo to try to do a job fair in November and definitely in December. Typically that's because a lot of HR say, you know, people on vacation, managers out, you know, interview teams, it's going to be harder to pull those teams together. We often hear that budgets dictate a lot of the hiring, right? So like January, the company might have a new budget, or it might be June, it might be April, it might be October. So I think for some, it ends up being July. So, you know, there are some things opening up around now.
Well, March being the highest new month, and it's more than double the median, which is also correlates to when all of the old posts were deleted. Makes me wonder if they come on now, and then people would rush back in to start to just post them again.
Yeah, I'll tell you, looking at this, I went and met with Christian Howard, the data scientist person at the Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce, and they often issue a report on this stuff with a lot of detail. And I told him, I said, Christian, I noticed this report has changed since I've ran it. Like it adjusted. Well, that's just what happened about a week or two ago when there was an announcement and the person at the federal level got fired. They were adjusting the job number. So they'll release stuff every month, but then every 2 months they'll look back and see if anything needs to go up or down. I've seen the system do almost the same thing where at one point in time, the level's here, and then you go back and look and it jumped up, and it was like, that's not what the report said. So it's kind of fluctuating. I don't know why that happens. But the third party, the first party that's owning the software is probably going in and making some changes. So yeah, it's an art more than a science as far as this is the best, really we have of available data.
It's imperfect is the nicest way you can describe
But
it.
it's all we got.
Yeah, it's the best indicator we have.
Yep. All right, well, we'll move on. Again, strategic goal 2 is going to be just our industry and stakeholder engagements. So we wanted to brief you guys on some things. So I guess John and Matt, maybe you guys could speak quickly to these.
Yeah, we're engaged in a number of conversations, and we're batting around a number of ideas. We're in deep conversation with Goodwill and Forklift University and Magnet about a material handling program. I'm working with Justin on an idea, on a concept for an educator apprenticeship that is a little more expansive than what WKU is offering. It'll be more inclusive and it should open up the aperture to more students and more schools. But that's very early in the concept phase. I have had conversations with Refuge Bowling Green and LifeWorks for Autism about driving simulator program. And then Matt's been working on an electrical training program with, you want to talk about Matt very quickly?
Yeah, so in addition to electrical, it's also HVAC and plumbing is what they have in mind. They want to set it up at Stuart Ritchie first to get it up and running, and but that's going to be they plan to open it up to everybody.
I had to give Chad props when I just realized Goodwill was not on there, John, when you were saying that. So
yeah, I was going to say something, Brian.
I know. I tried to stay ahead of it. I would be called to the principal's office. Okay, so then, some other things. We have a partnership through our Ready Set Hire youth programming that we've set up with Luttrell. So basically, when we have some youth that have had either some barriers or not a lot of established work history, we've made a formal agreement with Luttrell that we'll try to, get some traffic their way and promote opportunities that they have. And we like that arrangement because it's going to help hold those. Latrell will be able to report outcomes to us, and that'll help us because a lot of times the kids might have an outcome with the job and they just haven't reported it to us. So working through a third party, we'll get to know those better. And as Trevor mentioned, John's been trying to work on a SNAP ENT provider grant application, I should say, that
really just exploring it. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but SNAP, or the food stamp program, is commonly referred to. The ENT program is a sub-program within SNAP, but for the idea behind employment and training is to get people off of SNAP. And so there is a way for us to get, if we become a SNAP ENT provider, there's a way for us to get reimbursed for getting people into this program and getting them to work. And so it's a way to pick up additional workforce dollars. Chad, you might correct me, but there's a large Goodwill, I think in North Georgia, that picks up about $11 million a year in reimbursements for being a SNAP ENT provider.
You are correct.
So it can be quite lucrative. So I am trying to learn what it takes to become one of the SNAP ENT provider. So I've been working. Chad's introduced me to a very, very smart person that works at Goodwill of Kentucky Corporate, and she's been helping me. She's given me a lot of material, and she's been helping me work through an application process for this. So more to follow. I don't know if we can do it, but if we can, I'm gonna try.
And then John will give another update on the KCC relocation, and Jake will give a quick update on the statewide talent and attraction team. That's one of the statewide efforts out of our cabinet. The Kentucky Adult Education Reentry and Employment Services, KYAERES, MOUSE. We've been adding staff for that across the state, and so that's obviously a huge statewide initiative that's going on, and we are the fiscal agent, right? Is that what we could say?
Well, we hold a contract with
Yeah.
our employees.
And so we're stewarding the funds basically for that and supporting that. And then industry partnerships. So there was a next gen manufacturing meeting that happened at the Innovation Campus of WKU across the street from our office with a group called Rebecca, and they're looking at a lot of it's centered around the EV battery type of things, but this is things going on in Lexington, Louisville, here in Bowling Green and Eastern Kentucky. So they were gathering some stakeholders for some plans and feedback that they have needed for that. So it's just getting off the ground. Some things that we've done to cultivate relationships. I mentioned that hiring academy was actually called a New Kentuckian Hiring Academy, basically one turned on for new Americans. The Chamber's done one for Second Chance, Fair Chance, they call it. They've done it for veterans. They've done it for individuals with disabilities. So we've been giving them some feedback on the build of that. And they asked some of us that have been involved in giving them feedback to present. So that happened last week in Louisville. We hosted the Northern Kentucky Workforce Board. A couple of their staff came down, a few of them came down for a visit to hear what we've got going, and they're visiting other workforce boards. An annual SETA conference is coming up that I believe is John and Jessica are attending that. John sits on the board of the Life Works for Autism program. And then he's also very involved with the work. You guys may or may not know, the workforce board directors meet every month, and they'll actually have a meeting this week. So that takes up a lot of time and effort, but a lot of stakeholders at those. And then I mentioned the SkyShore membership. So again, all this backup stuff that doesn't necessarily have hard outcomes that we can report as far as people getting jobs, but efforts that are all leading to how to improve those kind of services for job seekers and businesses. So any comments on any of that stuff before we go in a little bit more detail on two of these?
What does Rebecca stand for?
Don't ask me that, Laura. I don't remember what Rebecca stands for. What do you think it stands for? Yeah.
It's just an unusual acronym though.
Yeah. And so one other thing is we normally start this section by talking about our aspirational goals. These would now be great examples of things that will fit under, this goal. So, and these were two of our biggest ones. So this is what we wanted to give you guys an update on. So I'll let Jake start with what we're calling the Regional Business Services Committee.
Sure. Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see everyone today. I wanted to just present to you just a little bit of information about the local group that we've tried to develop, deemed as SWAT. I know we've kind of talked about that in the last couple of board meetings, so you guys have a little bit of familiarity with that. But that acronym stands for State Workforce and Talent Team, which, as Brian alluded to, was initially an initiative started by the Education and Labor Cabinet at the state level. The goal really is to kind of streamline the workforce initiatives across the 120 counties with all of the workforce partners. And so locally, for us, we wanted to do the same thing here in the 10 counties by gathering sort of some of the workforce partners together in a room and really trying to streamline our efforts to better serve businesses and their hiring needs. So this was initially presented to us back in December of 2024 at the state level. And we've really tried to come back to this region and really run with this idea at a local level. So it's my understanding, I think from my count, we've met about 7 times, I think. And we've had some really good positive information that have come out of that with all of the workforce partners that we meet with on a monthly basis. We try to share information about the businesses coming into the region, businesses that are hiring, businesses that may be leaving or downscaling. We talk about just different things that we can do to help businesses. So it's really been a positive outcome, I think, from our perspective, and we've had some good information come out of that. But one of the things that we have been trying to do, and I don't know if there's a build out here, Brian, or not, but our goal really is efficiency. Okay, so for business leaders in the room, you all know this. As you guys have hiring needs, oftentimes you have to have 15 different conversations with different workforce partners, repeating the same information over and over. And that can be a little frustrating or daunting for everybody to try to get all of the information so that you can be properly assisted. But for us, in terms of efficiency, we're really trying to have all of the workforce partners in the room, help them understand, hey, this is a business that needs assistance, and how can we best help them? How can we be most efficient with their time? Because we know you guys are extremely busy trying to do all sorts of things to make your businesses run properly. So one of the things that we've tried to do, and you can see it on the screen, is create a common employer needs assessment. And this was something Bianca and I initially decided to run with and develop. And you can see there's an online version for this for businesses. We also have a paper format for this. But this is really something we use to try to get some intake information from businesses as they're hiring. We maybe get some shift information, some pay rates, those types of things, but it even goes broader than that. So we'll also list a lot of the workforce initiatives in our 10 county region, and you can select those. As you are interested in reentry, folks, you can select that option so that we know, hey, let's get some information to you from this partner. Or if you're interested in New Americans, let's have Alexa come talk to you about that. So there's things you'll be interested in, things you won't be interested in, but that gives you an opportunity to say, hey, listen, we are interested in these 9 things, but you don't have to necessarily provide us information on these other things or bring another workforce partner to a meeting that we don't need. So I hope for the business leaders in the room, that's really positive information. We can cut down on the time that we have to work with you. But again, this is really just an efficiency mechanism, and a call to action kind of for us today is definitely, there's a QR code on the screen, and I'm sure these slides are sent out to each of you. So please, if you have anything you would like to work with us on, if you want Bianca and I to come visit you, please fill out this common needs employer assessment, and we can get this information sent to our emails, and we'll make sure to reach out to you and try to help you as best we can. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else from Bianca or John or anything on this.
Well, just a little commentary. I mean, so we're very fortunate. Dr. Myers is one of the folks that comes into our local meeting, but Dr. Myers is also, there's a routine state level meeting. So really this whole SWAT thing is really meant to improve communication, not only locally, but also back and forth to folks at the state level. So that at the state level, we're talking about the Department of Labor, Economic Development Agencies, KCTCS, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but it's really meant to better communicate up and down and left and right what's going on in workforce so that we can serve folks better. So on the common needs assessment, Jake and Bianca might go in and warn what our company really is interested in is some incumbent worker training or some upskilling, and that's going to lead to a referral to Sky CTC Workforce Solutions in some cases, right? So it's them being able to come back and say, hey, I talked to this company, and passing that information off to the appropriate partner. So we're taking a stab at it. While we're doing, you know, the things that we're doing locally, there's other things happening at the state level. There's some, they're looking at some technology platforms to you know, create a common database or better facilitate information sharing. I'm somewhat privy to that, but I mean, I'm not on that committee, so but anyway, I know it's going on. Dr. Myers is kind of very involved in that part of it with at that level, but there's a lot of energy behind this idea, because we all Justin, you were talking about stovepipes. You know, there's a lot of stovepipes in workforce, and you know, this is an effort to really like break down some of those walls and better share information.
All right, and Don has an update.
Yeah, I mean, it's long been a goal of ours to exit the 75-year-old building at 803 Chestnut. It causes us a lot of hand wringing. It's a very old building with a lot of maintenance problems. So what's really picked up momentum in the last year or so is the idea of co-locating with Goodwill. Chad and I don't think there's a week that goes by Chad and I haven't been talking, but Goodwill has picked up a very large grant to remodel and expand the size of their opportunity center on 31W. And so we've been very involved in that conversation. Back in about 8 weeks ago, I did a walkthrough with the facility folks from Goodwill. We looked at blueprints, we walked through the facility, and really tried to identify what it would take to get all personnel relocated from our Kentucky Career Center, which is about 17 to 20 people, give or take. You know, I need that many seats to go in there. And so we've been working through that. I actually was on a call again yesterday. We're still hashing out the blueprint and what we're going to get. But what I confirmed yesterday is it looks like the rate would be at $15 a square foot to put everybody in there, which would come out to a little over $48,000 a year, which would actually be a significant cost savings for everybody if we can do that. So I am going to be going over to the Cumberlands. I see my peer Myra Wilson on. She's the executive director of the Cumberlands, but we're both going to be talking to Secretary Link on October 21st. The Cumberlands is also looking at relocating, so he's asked to meet with us. So my goal is to roll in there to him and present our business plan and make our business case on why we need to do this. So more to follow. We'll see if it all comes to fruition, but we haven't had momentum like this ever, and so right now we've got some significant momentum in our favor.
And I scoured the internet for the most realistic artist rendering of what the new Career Center will look like, right, Chad?
Yeah, let's take that picture down, Brian. That's
this was a slow day.
I will send you a rendering of the new one here soon.
Yeah, so this is the building that would be the target for expansion. So this is what it currently looks like. Okay. All right, strategic goal 3. So again, this is where we're going to be talking mostly with youth, but we'll also give you guys some WIOA information. So you can see here the amount of engagement events, and these were really heavy in the spring. The summer, we had quite a bit of substantial activity. We'll give you guys some updates on some fruit that's being yielded from some of those meetings, but we have engaged roughly 2,400 youth and counting. So each day there's more. And there's Laura. Okay, she's kind of out of my sight, but yeah, between Laura and Shannon, they're getting into the schools now. It's starting to pick up, but some of them just opened their doors yesterday and others last week. So more to come, but we do have 93 youth since last July. So nearly most of them have come through this year, but our goal is really picking up now that we were able to. In fact, this number is more than double than one we reported at the last board meeting. So.
And your 404 should be 441.
Oh, yes. Okay. So there's another screen that's going to show the number enrolled is 441. I did not update it on this screen. Yes. Thank you, Shannon. And so some of those other events at the bottom have already come and gone. That are other engagement events, usually the ones to engage seniors. as they finish, but we'll give you guys more details on the youth program here, but I'm gonna let Matt show you guys, and talk about some WIOA numbers, which we're not used to showing you guys except in our annual report. So take it away, Matt.
Yeah, so this is pretty self-explanatory, but what I do want to point out here is between active participants and participants in follow-up. You got 350 participants there, and that's split between 3 career advisors. To put that in perspective, on a university campus, an academic advisor has about that many students per semester, and they're only having to contact them once or twice to tell them the 4 or 5 classes that they should take. Our case management is much more involved in that than that. So I think it's just to put a spotlight on how much work those ladies do and how much involvement it really takes. I mean, that averages out to over 100, about 115, 116 participants per career advisor. Yes, it's pretty heavy load. We're getting a new grant, severe storms that we may hear about.
I'll talk about it in a minute. That'll add to the cases.
Yeah, so when we say NDWG, that's above and beyond regular WIOA money. So just to show the ones on the top right there, the Quest ones that are labeled Quest, if we didn't have that money, we'd only be looking at what we could do with about 60 people at a time. So it definitely substantially, increases the case management, but also our services when we can get those extra funds.
Yeah, with WIOA funds, it's just it comes out to about 100 participants per year that we can plan for. So yeah, those special grants, Quest and severe storms help us out tremendously. This just covers some of the programs that they're enrolled in and completing. John mentioned our partnership, or Brian mentioned partnership with Dr. Myers and the CDL program over at Sky CTC earlier. You can see that is the most popular program. A little bit it's short. It's 4 weeks long. They get in, they do the classroom time, the road time, and take a test, and they can be out with a pretty substantial wage, depending on their driving patterns. You can see the work ready boot camps have been really popular. We've done those within the county jails and at Great Onyx Job Corps, which is also open to some high schools over in that area.
Can I just comment? So there's a little bit of risk we take there when we do these programs inside a jail. What we work out with the jailers, we're asking for people that, to the best of their ability, think will be released within the next 90 days or so. There's often not an exact date that somebody's going to get released. There's never an exact date. I mean, they could get shock released unexpectedly, or they could just kind of hang out there for a lot longer than anybody thought. But anyway, we know we're going to get measured on an employment outcome at the 6 and 12 month mark. And so we take a little bit of risk on, we might have low employment outcomes at the 6 month mark. We're kind of banking on a positive employment outcome by the 12 month mark.
Yep. Last thing I'll highlight on here is the supportive services only. So what that is boots, clothes, tools, just to get somebody off on the right foot when they start their job. Those ones we can have a real quick touch on. And those also allow us to spend less money than what it would cost to do a training, which allows us to beef up the numbers we can serve.
Matt, would you remind us what the work experience one is? I'm forgetting that.
So work experience is where either an employer can refer them to us, or we can refer to an employer. It's basically an internship. They'll go and work at the location. We pay their wages to help them get their foot in the door. Hopefully at the end of that period, the employer likes them enough to pick them up full time.
Subsidized internship. So.
And so when we talk about expanding industry partnerships, I mean, these are pretty much the ones. Every now and then there's some healthcare ones that turn on and off. We haven't had as much success, especially with online self-paced healthcare training. So if you're just given access to a class and you have an indefinite almost amount of time to finish it, we don't see a lot of people finishing and we don't see a lot of them getting employed through that model very well. But there's different modes that turn on and off sometimes for those. But what you won't see on here also is just general college classes. So this board has traditionally not supported financially people to go just to pay their tuition for just general college classes. So we're focused on the short term credential programs that can get them a better paying job when they finish it. And as we all know, college usually in one semester typically isn't set up that way, although a lot of these classes are offered at a college setting. They're considered industry recognized training. So but a history class would not be. So again, we're not focused as much on those, just any kind of post-secondary training, but these types of offerings. Any questions on any of that? Anybody in the room or anybody online? All right, I am going to try to get my computer Wi-Fi to share a story. Leslie's worked hard on a couple of videos that we have from participants that go up. So okay. And you can go online and watch it. All right, we have another one. Let's see if I can. Let me get out of my presentation. There we go. right, so we brought some production value to some stories there. Yeah. Again, those are online, and you're free to share them, right? It doesn't cost anything to share, right?
Doesn't cost anything to share, and I will just tell you, out of everything that we post, those resonate the most with your friends, with your family. That's what they will remember. So I would highly encourage you all to share. It's gonna get to somebody who needs to see it.
Yep. All right, I'll turn it over to Shannon for an update on the Ready, Set, Hire.
Okay, so we have, as you can see, rebranded from Putting Young Kentuckians to Work to Ready, Set, Hire for a couple of reasons. One is that Putting Young Kentuckians to Work is a mouthful and there's not even a good acronym for it. So we went to Ready, Set, Hire, which is a lot more attractive. It's more to the point, and we already had some name recognition because of our pre-existing event. So this is the same program that we have worked on for the past year, but it's just got a different face. We've expanded it and rebranded it, and it's just got a little bit of a different face. Okay, so some of the things that we have accomplished, we do have 441 youth enrolled in the program right now. 50% of those have signed up for the retention bonus, which means that they were unemployed and actively seeking work when they enrolled. We have not paid out any of those yet, but we are just on the brink of it. A little bit different approach that we took this year was getting into schools early. So that we could catch all of the students that aspire to get jobs while they're still in high school and those that are enrolled in co-ops. Last year, by the time we got into the schools, a lot of the co-op students were already engaged and therefore not eligible for the bonus, incentive bonus. We have also got 100 or more enrollment forms received from schools yesterday. We sent those enrollment forms home with juniors and seniors to the tune of almost 3,000. And those have started to come back in. Schools agreed to put those in the first day packet, the take-home packet, so that kids and parents could see those because we do need parental consent for anyone under 18, and that is included in that enrollment form. We've got more than 100 back. We expect a lot more. I think I can say with confidence that by this time next week we'll have 600 enrolled, and it's going to be a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Did I see something on the news recently about co-ops and a partnership with the board? It's not her question.
It's a matter.
As a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact.
Barron County.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I drew a blank there, but yes, absolutely. Yeah. Barron County has, we rolled out this program and they are our pilot effort, and we expect great things from it. Okay. With our texting platform, we have it has been a big help. We have got, as you can see, 1,203 total conversations, which means that those are, from them to us and back again to count as a conversation. It has to be a two-way thing. We've sent out 5,113 messages, and you can see what we've received back. And that's a little bit skewed because a lot of those messages went out in campaigns, and we have done 30 of those this year so far. So some of the things that we send campaigns about are the opportunities that we see coming up locally. For instance, the employer showcase at the Kentucky Career Center is something that we have started to send campaigns about. And a benefit of that, number one, it lets you know this is happening now. If you show up, you will talk to somebody. So if you're serious about a job, get yourself together and come on down to the Career Center. Secondly, it's kind of a sneaky backdoor way to find out what the youth are up to, because I'll always, or we always finish it up with and if you're already working, just let me know. And so that is a way that we have gotten that information about a lot of the youth that have gotten employment and just haven't thought to tell us about it. We've gotten some placements from that. And it's, you know, I just put information in last night about a youth that he was employed back in May. And one of these campaigns brought out that information. So we try everything we can to keep them, to reel them in once they're on the hook.
We paid $3,600 for 1 year of Text Us. It's the best $3,600 I've ever spent, because
Yeah.
this is how kids, people in this age demographic communicate.
They
We
do.
would otherwise, we'd be serving them and really never know what happened.
Mhm.
If we relied on it, they don't email, they don't call, but they'll text you or they'll respond to a text at a rate of about 29%.
Right, right.
Which
And
is better than 0%.
It's definitely better than zero. And we know that we've got more employed floating around out there, and slowly but surely we're reeling those in. So I agree. It's a great tool.
Yeah, so there's two big innovations with our youth programming, the bonus incentive and then this texting platform that we're using. And so John and I both have high school seniors. I can't believe I'm saying that, at two different schools. His son got a packet sent home and the new student paperwork. And my son got called into an assembly for his first day yesterday and said, they told us about this bonus incentive, but I'm already working, so I can't get it. Sorry, son. So what's funny is that, yeah, this is coming back around now where, you know, we've always wanted to get into the schools, and we have gotten into the schools in major ways, but man, this is a huge foot in the door to be able to have, you know, to make it with the new school year paperwork. So
And it was easy to sell.
good.
Like, because we're saying, don't do anything different except fill out this paper.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get a check for $250. I mean, that's a fairly easy sell. I would have filled out the paper if I would have qualified for it. Just
I think it's worth saying, we're a year into this experiment. We're really well situated with Warren County schools, Barron County High School, Allen County High School, Hart and Logan. But if I didn't name your high school, we got work to do to just get in there and serve. And so it's not that we haven't tried, just we haven't connected, we haven't connected to the point where we've got these application forms in their hands and so forth. And we're not on their schedule yet. So we want to be in every school that we can. But this is kind of, I'll make a reference to something called the ink blot theory. When you drop a piece of ink on a piece of paper, what happens? It spreads, right? So we've dropped our ink on a couple of these high schools in our region, but we got to get that ink to spread out evenly across all the other counties. So
Yeah.
there's still work to do in that regard.
There is, but you know that you're making a dent when you're out of town and you're getting text messages from people that want to know how to enroll through text and LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
it's working.
All right, thank you, Shannon. We're going to pass the mic to a couple of other staff here in a moment, but getting into goal number 4, again, this is the one you guys are used to seeing, our efforts with new Americans, with military veterans. So you can see we're also involved with getting refugees into training programs, and ISA, Baba is a part of that effort. And you can see we've got 8 people that have either enrolled or in the process or have already completed training. And then our referrals are about half of what they could be there with the new Americans, what we set out as a goal at the beginning of the year. And then those known placements at 55. And then with the military veteran, that's usually on efforts through John with the Your Turn internship and the engagements going on there. So a lot of service members have contacted him. We've had 2 that have actually been placed and served employers this year. We had one that worked at our Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce and is now working at the Nashville Chamber of Commerce. So we can say that was a great outcome to hear about. And then with the justice involved, that's going to be primarily our Putting Kentuckians First, or we call PFK or RES or PK. Yeah, PKF. Sorry. Yes, Brittany, I'll let you give the rundown on this and then the success stories on the next screen.
Okay, I'm going to stand because I ate 4 pieces of birthday cake last night. And if Leslie takes pictures, I don't want that to show. So, yes, I really like reentry and employment services better. So RES, but we are rocking and rolling. As you can see with the numbers up there, we are in 10 of the 10 counties for putting Kentuckians first. The only county I don't have a target orientation in is Edmondson, and I am working on that because apparently adult ed is going to be working out of the fire department. So we're going to go on that day. Firemen, hello. Yes. Anybody wants to join. But just for us, for the calendar year, my boss is a big data person, so I have to talk about all of that. It looks like we have from the calendar year of 25, so January, 195 participants just in South Central, 126 are participating, and 88 have secured employment for a 70% employment and retention rate for the calendar year. So I know we did our numbers yesterday, and I think from starting in July, I already have 57 people in South Central, and I have to credit that to, they asked me yesterday, how do I have so many? And it's all my wonderful people. Did Chad leave? Listen, everybody yell at him because I was going to credit Goodwill and now I'm not. No, I'm just kidding. But career team with Matt, he's not kidding. Those people rock it out. I go over there every day, every Thursday, and they hate to see me coming because I'm begging for money. But I cannot credit my partners enough. They are amazing, and it is why I get to do what I do. So I'm going to share a few success stories. This is Cheryl. I fell in love with her in Hart County. She attended about 3 of my pre-release classes because she was in there serving a 15-month sentence, or she was serving a 3-year sentence, and she had been in there 15 months when she got shock probation. She was asking what she could do. She was volunteering at the animal shelter while she was in. I was able to get her birth certificate and her ID. She did so well at the animal shelter. When she got out, she was able to maintain employment there. However, when she got out, she did not have any clothing. She did not have a phone. So I partnered with Matt to help with the phone, and then I was able, because the RES branch has a little bit of support services where we can provide some things, so I was able to get her a little bit of clothing and some comfortable shoes. She is doing fantastic. We are finally getting her birth certificate in, because getting birth certificates from different states is like running a freaking marathon. But we are finally able to get it in, and there's her picture after she got her hair done yesterday because she begged me to wait. She is doing amazing. And I talk to her on a regular, but she wants to give all the credit to God. She did a lot of Bible studying while she was in and swears she will never go back. So she is just doing amazing. But it's because of the pre-release classes, which is what I want to talk about with Katie. So Katie has not really done a lot with me yet because she is still in inpatient treatment at Park Place Recovery. But sitting right there, I was at Allen County pre-release, and we had the guys come in first. Some of the jails make us separate men and women. Allen County is one of them. And in the first class, there was this guy in there, and he was talking about how he wanted to go only to co-ed because he was only going to get sober if his girlfriend could go with him. And we were like, big mistake, you're wrong, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And so this is his girlfriend. And so she comes in, and we're talking, and the first thing I say is, do you want to go to sober living with your boyfriend? She's like, no, I will never stay sober that way. Absolutely not. So that day we got her in and assessed to go to Park Place. She has already contacted me through Park Place. We're going to get her, she's coming to Malta sober living in 2 weeks, and we are going to get her set up. She's going to meet me at the Career Center, and we're going to get her a job and get everything going. But that is her now a couple weeks after being from jail. So I really look for good things for her, just for the sole purpose that she made the decision not to follow a man. So I'm proud of that. But it's just things like this that really encourage you, because both of these people right here came from, there's Michael right there. Both of these people right here came from the detention center and are already having such great outlooks by all of the partnerships that we provide with everything. And then Randy, that is one of my most difficult cases. He went to high school with Michael, and he was a character. So we got him a job at Pan Austin 4 days after he contacted me. And then 4 days after that, he quit. Fun. He is a convicted felon with a firearm charge, which is the hardest background to find somebody a job for. So about 2 months later, we searched and searched and searched and searched and searched. And finally, with Stuart Ritchie, they called. I had emailed his resume over and they said they'd take a look at it. Took a couple months, but they called him and said, if you can be in Hazard County, and he lives in Barron, the following day, then we have a job for you. He had to have a gas card and a tool belt that buckles. So I was able to, and it was 3 o'clock. I was able to get him a tool belt and the gas card, met him at the adult education office and shoes and dropped some things off for him so he could get started. He was one I talked to probably 3 times a day, and now it's like once a week. So he's doing fantastic. But I told him, please do not quit that job, because if you do, we're gonna have some problems. But it's just all of these people and more have just amazingly done so much. And it's just the partnerships that we have. I send every single person to Goodwill as well as Career Team so that we can utilize all of those opportunities for them, because Cheryl, had she not, and Randy, had he not been able to get the tools needed, they wouldn't have been able to start their job and be able to be successful citizens. And Randy called me many times saying he was ready to go back to the way things were, and I had to talk him out of just realizing the difference of what that's going to do to you. And I want to give a shout out to Bianca. I was at Phoenix Project on Monday, and Charles Hicks was there, and he said that without the love and support from Bianca, he would not be where he is today. So he remembered her from years ago, and it happens all the time. The Career Team ladies are phenomenal, and everybody remembers them. So I am so grateful for all the partnerships that I'm able to work with. And South Central is the best board. I will say one more thing. I'm not kidding. I will say one more thing. Everybody on my RES call yesterday asked me how I am able to do the things that I do. And it is because of the South Central Workforce Development Board. Nobody else has, Career Team especially, like we have. So anyways, there's that. If anybody has any questions.
Do I owe you money for that plug?
I'll take a check.
If you'll pass the mic to Alexa, we'll have Alexa go now.
Oh, we got one. Yeah.
Oh, you can use that one. Okay, great. All right. So we just have a placeholder slide here, Alexa, but we have some stories to tell
No,
here
it's
as
fine.
well.
Yeah. So I have 2 stories that I want to tell of many, like we said, there's so many. But,
Yes.
yeah, just to highlight, it's probably not going to sound as cheerful and happy as what Brittany just said, but there's a lot of undue obstacles that new Americans face in obtaining and keeping a job. And I believe that if we resolve those issues, that it would benefit both job seekers and employers. So, okay, the first story, I was acquainted with this job seeker and his wife in early April. It was actually just like days after I started this position. So we created a resume for him. We filled out applications, and some of them were to employers that I was initiating relationships with. So it was like a month later, he was invited to an interview. And so we prepared for the interview. We sent an interpreter to accompany him to the interview. So, did a lot of work for this. And this process that it took for him, in context, it was quick because it was like a month and a half. So just that's quick. So this person is really hardworking. He's reliable. He's never missed a day of work. He's never late for work. And he was even awarded a certificate for his good work the day before he was let go from the job at the end of his 90-day probation period. And because Laura and I work like in a more holistic way as navigators, his first stop was to our office to see, what had happened, and also to get some more support to find a new job. So we were able to connect with the employer and have a conversation and find out that it was really no fault of his. It was just kind of a business decision. They let go of people and then they hire new people, you know, the next week. So we helped him to find a job, a placement at a staffing agency, which, you know, by nature is temporary, and conditional and unstable. But the point is that, like, even for people who are highly qualified, are getting, you know, rewarded for their good work, it still is really difficult for new Americans to keep jobs, by no fault of their own, obviously. So additionally, after you get what you think is a permanent long-term job, not temporary work like with a staffing agency, employers are letting go of good people, good employees at the end of their probationary period. And that relates to this other story, because, you know, I think that it's really important to try to find people long-term, continuous employment. But for some more difficult situations, we do refer people to staffing agencies. Like this other person who I was acquainted with in July, and he's proven through his work history to be loyal to his employers. He stays with jobs for a long time, and he is not afraid of manual labor at all. So he's really mild-mannered and grateful man. And every week he shows up at my office to ask for updates. You know, he's desperately looking for jobs. And it wasn't until this last week that I realized that he had been walking in 100+ degree weather an hour each way to see me, to ask me for updates. And, you know, of course, every week I was saying, you know, I'm sorry, like, I'm going to keep applying to jobs for you, you know. But after I learned about, like, the extremity of his situation, I ended up taking him over to a staffing agency. And I knew that there was probably not going to be a job available for him because we have relationships with them as well. But I just wanted to, you know, get his information into their system so that the next opportunity that was available, you know, maybe he could take it. So, by a stroke of luck, while we were there, the staffing agency person gets a call. The person who was supposed to start working that day at a factory, said, you know, he couldn't start because he was having childcare issues. So immediately, this person that I brought got the job. And he started working just 2 hours or something like that later. Okay. So, and there was a lot to do in that time to, you know, make sure that he had what he needed to succeed. He needed to figure out transportation, which, you know, we were able to connect him with resources here in town to get him to and from work. And it seemed really great. And then 3 days later, he was fired from the job. And it was because he had a doctor's appointment that was very important for his health. And that was made clear, and I'll not get into details, but it was made clear at his appointment at the staffing agency that he needed to go to this doctor's appointment. There was no way that it could be rescheduled. Okay. So the point of that story is that this man is so committed to employment in general that even with health conditions, being an older person, and you know, all the other barriers that he has as a person, he would walk 5 miles every week to my office to hopefully start working that day, you know. But, you know, because just so happened he had a doctor's appointment scheduled right after he began work, which is horrible timing, of course. Nobody wants to do that, or, you know, that's not looked at as good necessarily, but he couldn't help it, right? We're back at square one. And keeping in mind that, you know, a staffing agency that got him this job in the first place is in and of itself a last resort, like I was saying earlier, right? So, you know, I'm probably, you know, preaching to the choir, I guess, but I think that it does bear repeating that it behooves us to put people to work who want to work and to utilize the countless free and cost-effective ways to remove barriers to employment for new Americans, especially if those barriers have nothing to do with their work performance or their commitment for the long haul, which both of these people proved, I think, to me anyway. You know, for one, getting people in good, steady jobs circulates money in our communities, which is good for literally everybody here and everybody in our communities. But two, you know, making those minor changes in hiring, onboarding, and advancement practices to include those huge populations of people who are good workers and will stay at the jobs for a long time, you know, 10 years, as long as you'll let them, basically. That increases and also stabilizes company revenues, which like really seems like it could be helpful right now. So I'll, you know, I'm happy to talk about it more one-on-one, but I'll yield for time for your consideration of some. So
Thank you, Alexa. Yeah, we wanted to showcase those, and those have both happened here, you know, just since the last board meeting. So normally we're bringing you guys highlights, and we dare say to call that a highlight, other than the highlight is the reality of what's going on for many segments of the population that we seek to serve. But this just happened to be a couple of folks that were seeking services through our New American Navigator. But yeah, and the other quick update is the gentleman that lost his job after the 90 days did get rehired through a staffing agency. And the first day on the job, Alexa heard from the wife, he worked 12 hours and didn't know he was going to be working 12 hours, was supposed to go to onboarding, just got put on the shop floor. And at 12 hours, when he's trying to walk away, they're like, "Oh, we need you to stay." He's like, 12 hours, I'm tired. So it's very much a use them and lose them approach that seems to be happening for a lot of our job seekers. And it absolutely sucks. But we are having stability, but then there's plenty of instability that's happening as well. And so it just, again, mixed signals in the labor market and mixed signals with our, you know, efforts with employers. So it can't be all cheeky rosy without us sharing this other ugly reality that's happening for people. Like Alexa said, that it's not exactly fault of their own. There might be some things that could be considered infractions, but it seems to be an all or nothing approach that we're hearing from employers without a lot of grace in between. So again, we're saying employers in a very general sense, but these just happen to be a couple of situations. But just keep in mind, this is what our people on the ground are hearing stories of.
This is, I mean, workforce development's always messy. It's just a messy space. It's always messy. The fact of the matter is Alexa shared 2 positive employment outcomes. Temporary, but they were temporary, yeah. Right? So
happy.
So, I mean, you did your job, but now you're having to do it again. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it kind of talks to just what we talked at the beginning, the slowdown, the kind of picking and choosing of, you know, employers can be picky right now. And unfortunately, that makes our work harder because our folks don't always come out on top. This, you know, when you can be picky about who you want in your workplace. So, all right, we need to.
Yep, we'll catch up here
forward.
This one will be a pretty short slide for John because we've met.
Yeah, we've really. I mean, these are all goals that we established at the beginning of the year. We've met all of them. With the exception of one, and that's the external audit, which is underway in full force right now. Poor Deronda and poor National Label, Michelle and Mary Ellen, our fiscal agents, are swamped with an audit right now. Okay, I just want to very briefly just talk about what our budget picture looks like. It's not in full focus yet, but it's starting to come into focus. So when you look there on the left, these are different funding streams that these are different federal funding streams. And so the figures in red are planning figures. We think we're going to get about that amount of money, or maybe hopefully a little bit more, but we do not have a firm answer on our WIOA adult funds or our WIOA dislocated worker funds. So for the sake of planning, or for the sake of this presentation, we should get about $400,000 each, if not a little bit more. Any figures in the black font that is money that we have. So you can see in terms of federal funding, I think for this next year through next June 30th, I think we'll be dealing with about $1.96 million, maybe a little bit more, I hope. On the left are other monies that we primarily manage through EmployWorld, which is the nonprofit foundation affiliated with the Workforce Board. You can see that we've got some money, some local funding from Warren County Fiscal Court, City of Bowling Green for our New American Navigator, Alexa, and her role. We've got the money from the General Assembly, the Ready, Set, Hire, or putting Young Kentuckians to Work funding. We've got a contract with Adult Ed for basically Brittany's program. And so what's happening there is Kentucky Adult Ed wants reentry navigators all across the Commonwealth. They can't easily just create these governmental positions within Adult Ed. So they contracted through us so that they could have these positions. So really most of that money just passes through and is paying salaries for folks like, there's Brittany plus 5 others at this point across the Commonwealth, but we're managing that contract. And then through EmployWorld, through service agreements, we up front, we mentioned we had a professional services contract with the Cumberland's Workforce Board to design and draft their strategic plan, and they paid us rather handsomely to do that. And so, we are generating some level of income that way. So those other monies, about 1.18 million. And then Brian, if you go forward, so all in all, I think we're going to manage about 3.14 million over through next June. Again, that's not solid yet, but once I get a better picture on adult and dislocated worker as a formality, I've got to meet with our judge executives, and they have oversight and approval of our budget. So I'll have to go through that process with them. Hopefully in the next 6 weeks, I'll be able to do that. All right. Okay. I just want to talk very briefly about WIOA. So WIOA as a law, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, was first passed in 2014. And when it was passed by Congress, it had a 6-year lifespan. Well, that brought it to 2020. And then, we all know what happened in 2020. So WIOA got extended. Well, the Trump administration is going to replace WIOA. And we think Congress is going to meet in the next couple of months and develop new workforce legislation. We think it's going to get retitled to Make America Skilled Again, or MASA. We'll see. What I've got up there is what, the Trump administration has basically rolled out a letter that says, here's what we would like to see. And this is just a very brief summary of the key features that the Trump administration would like to see. So that first one, federal workforce funding implementation, they want to do away with this adult, dislocated worker, youth. Each one of those are separate lines of funding with separate policies and guidelines and compliance requirements. They want to simplify all that and just go to just a block grant and streamline. I like that idea. But also inside of that, they want to see at least 10% of that funding go to support registered apprenticeships, which is going to be a challenge for us in South Central because we don't have that many. So, we're going to have to see what that means, on how we support that. The next one, scaling registered apprenticeships. Again, they want to see more registered apprenticeships, aligning emerging industries. There's language in there about incorporating AI literacy and emphasis on advanced manufacturing training. Budget cuts and redirection. Okay, so one of the big controversial things is they want to completely cut Job Corps and adult education completely, and take that money and reallocate it back into other places. They think that if they do that, they can reduce workforce funding nationally by about 35%. That idea has to survive Congress. So we'll see. at a local level, we cannot absorb a whole lot of funding reduction. We are fairly lowly funded in terms of workforce dollars. Out of the 10 workforce boards in Kentucky, we are 9th in funding. Only Green River is lower than us. So I'm very sensitive to funding reduction, but that's why we've worked so hard over the last couple of years to get those other funds coming in, the funds that you saw on the right side of the screen, so that we can mitigate any possible reductions. And the last one, state flexibility, one of the other things in here, and it's not on this slide, is right now, anytime federal funding comes in, like the WIOA funding, by law, the state, the labor cabinet, they can peel off 15%. 5% of that is for salaries, 10% of that is kind of governor's discretion to fund pet projects, workforce projects that he wants. Under this idea, they would give the state the ability to keep an additional 10%, which means that's 10% less potentially available coming down to a local workforce area. So we'll see. But the bottom line there is, and if you go forward one, big changes are coming. They are coming. Now, whenever this happens, there's usually a 2 to 3 year period, transition period, but there's going to be big changes coming. And I think as this starts to ramp up, as this conversation starts to ramp up in Congress, you're going to see a lot of conversation about, whether it's effective, whether it's a good use of funding. You're going to see folks that are going to be very critical of this, of this programming, viewing it as just another social service program that's a waste of money, and then you'll have people that very much support it. So I think what I'm saying is I think we're gonna be in the spotlight, and so and that's okay. I want South Central to be in the spotlight. Come look at us. I hope that everybody on our board and anybody watching agrees that we are definitely punching above our weight class, and we're doing everything that we can to serve all the different communities that we have in South Central Kentucky as cost effectively as we can, and that we're making a difference. So anyway, big changes are coming, and I may need your support at some point. We'll see. All right.
Yeah, we've reached a time where you guys talk for the next hour and a half, right?
No.
No. Okay. Any reactions? Something that you want to, something that resonated? Anything before we close out here?
So I appreciate your comments about staying ahead from the changes you've seen. Like, I pulled this up as soon as you started talking, which is, I'm sure, where all that came from. Where the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, and Department of Education came together to create the strategy, the marrying together of those worlds. So in our realm, I'm trying to stay in front of it. Like, I want to know the language, I want to speak the language, and I want to write it in grants.
Yeah.
And every grant that I write that we see that comes out of us is going to have all that language in it after it's adopted. But just me personally speaking, I don't see bad ideas. I don't like money being cut, but there's nothing bad. I think most of that's probably already going on in South Central, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a 27-page document. I think I've got 3 pages left to read from when I read it yesterday. And I was describing it's like a balloon. Like, they pinch here, but there's a gap there. Now all of a sudden something's here. And so they use the word programs a lot. And I don't know, program would be a state entity, a funding source, a workforce board. So yeah, there's a lot of unknowns right now. How it'll all shake out.
Yeah, we want to be positioned to do well. That's why we can either just position ourselves to mitigate loss, or we can position ourselves to thrive and excel. And I want us to be positioned to thrive and excel. So we're doing our best to read the tea leaves. And
I feel like you're already ahead. I feel like the board's already ahead.
Well,
Just for
good.
Well, Justin, ChatGPT
Now I owe you
does
money
too.
too, Justin.
Do what?
Now I owe you money too.
ChatGPT does too. I gotta tell this story before we finish. So as I was researching the labor market information, I was like, tell me more about this breakdown and what projected demand means, because our Bowling Green Chamber will issue a report of the open jobs, but also the projected demand. And I said, break that down for me. And the first response was, well, it'll, it was local to South Central. And it was like, here's two sort, you got KY Stats that can tell you more information, or the South Central Workforce Development Board. And so I'm like, what do you do when ChatGPT tells you to ask yourself? So yeah, we're on the radar.
It thinks a lot of us.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Hey, Brian, this is Josh. I do have one thing to add. You guys were speaking earlier about how the labor market is slow, especially around Warren County and Bowling Green area. We haven't seen that in some of the rural counties where we are in Monroe, and I know some of our people we work with in Metcalf. It's actually right the opposite. We're having a real tough time finding help. And it's good for employees actually, because their wages in this area have never been higher. We're actually, just speaking from our company standpoint, we are advertising $20 an hour, which is more than we've ever paid for night shift, or second shift rather, and we still can't find enough help. So I don't know if maybe some of these applicants can be pushed this way. It may be too far, but like I said, I know for our county, also Summer Shade area, a little bit of a 15-mile radius of where we are. We're seeing a little bit different pool here. So just wanted to offer that insight as well.
Quick question, Josh, do you hire reentry, background friendly?
We do, yes. Yeah, we have we're very laxed on that, very much.
Okay, I'm gonna
And
get your email because I can probably send you quite a few today.
Okay, good. And I can tell you what's hurt some of our area as well. Like I know one of our, I won't say for the sake of privacy, but one of our associates that we work with in Summer Shade, they took a really hard hit, like kind of what you guys were talking about earlier with the Trump administration. They had some ICE agents just came around, and they lost 26 employees in one day, just from fear of being looked into. So they took a really hard hit. They lost 50% of their workforce. So it's kind of rough around this area. So any help here would be greatly appreciated.
Hey, you got it.
Yep. All right, excellent. Anyone else? Well, we do have another call to action. So we've done this through a survey the last 2 fall breaks and spring breaks, or in the last year actually. It was our 3rd time having to do it. The way that our second Thursday falls of the month for the board meetings is hitting during a lot of the school's fall break. So right now you can pull your phone out and scan this QR code. Deronda will also be sending you the link, but we do want 100% workforce board participation rate on your feedback, if we should be keeping the date of October the 9th, or if we do need to scoot it out by just 1 week there to the 16th. We'll still have it hybrid format like it was today either way. But we just want to make sure we have quorum and your input on that.
Is it like county and city schools? Like what is the?
County and city here, and I believe we looked at a lot of different school districts and confirmed that it was the same. Yeah. Yep. It typically kind of nicely has fallen the same like that. So again, if you can take a moment and do that, just basically your name and whether yes or no for both of those dates, and then we'll tally up the responses to see which is going to get a better, as best you know, right? I mean, it's still 2 months away, but as best you know, and a lot of you may be taking your own trips that week to take advantage of that. So, and otherwise, I think that does it for us. So back to you, Trevor.
Okay. It was great discussion today, and I will echo when someone said we have the greatest board in the state. I agree with that. Thank you all for your hard work, and I guess we'll send out the information on when the next meeting will be. But if no one has any other business, we will go ahead and adjourn. Hope you all have a great day, rest of your week.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.